All right, everybody, thanks for joining me for another Her Wild Outdoors episode. Today is an exciting one because we have the Yates on here, and we've talked to Jennifer.
Yeah.
Jen, last year we talked about you as a non-hunter.
Yes.
And then we talked about the possibility that if you ever were to hunt, that turkey would be a great one to start with.
It sure was.
So this weekend, we planned for you to go turkey hunting.
It was so much fun. It's been such a great weekend.
It has been such a good weekend, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But we've got everybody here who was here this weekend hunting together, and you and your hubby Alan. Which, it takes two.
Takes two to tango. That's what it does.
Two is more fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Been a year in the making, and a lot of prep and a lot of discussions and a lot of planning and dates and time and
stress.
It's the typical thing that goes with hunting. I mean, you plan a day a year in advance, and then life happens in a year. Trying to buy a house, people are moving, like different jobs. I mean, it's life, but you got to try to make time to do what you love and get out in the woods and enjoy yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's tranquility, that's peace, that's what we do as people.
That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long time coming, and it was an interesting one.
It was fun. It was fun just even getting here Friday, knowing that we were gonna be able to hang out for the weekend, and just experience it. Because I heard you guys all talk about it before, but it's so different. It's like anything else until you experience it yourself. Mm-hmm. You really don't know how much fun it is or what the work entails or like how much of the, like we're talking about how we're so tired.
Yeah.
How all the adrenaline rushes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd come home and be like, babe, you want to hear about my hunt? This was awesome. This is what happened. I was running around here. We bounced this property.
Yeah, you don't get it.
I'm like 15 minutes into it. She's like, babe, I get it. And I love that you had fun and stuff like that. But, can you help me with the dishes? And it's got to get done and stuff. But now we can go home and she's got her own story to tell.
Yeah, she has her own story.
You're telling everybody tomorrow.
I've already started through text. I haven't even posted yet, but you just start spreading the word. You're so excited. Yeah.
You had a moment, but it was a long week coming. A lot happened before you.
A lot happened.
There was a lot going on.
Y'all showed up Friday, and we went straight to, you had never shot.
Correct.
A shotgun.
That's correct.
And so I needed to pattern my gun. You needed to shoot a shotgun. And in that process, we figured out a couple of things that you're going to have to continually work on to figure out what's going to help you be more successful.
That was really wild how you figured that out, because in all of my 24 years of being alive, just kidding. In all of my 40 plus years of being alive, I never would have thought that because I'm a righty, so I would have never thought that. And I actually can't wait to go do that trick to all my friends and
Figure out
see which one you are. Let me see what you are.
Well, we noticed, your shot was off.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you were flinching a whole lot.
Right.
It wasn't like we didn't see you pulling a whole lot. But what we did notice was you were leaning over the shotgun to your right.
Yep.
So you had it on your right shoulder and everything seemed okay, but your head was leaned so far over it kind of made us wonder, okay, what else is going on here?
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think I was just compensating to try and get the best shot.
You were trying to get your left eye over that outside.
I was literally putting my head.
That actually never crossed my mind.
Talking
I never
about
thought
that
about it until she said something.
Yeah.
I noticed.
When we go shooting at the range, she shoots righty with confidence, first of all.
Yeah.
But she's a pretty decent shot. I mean, her grouping, she was punching holes. We were there 2 weeks ago, and after a mag or two of her getting acclimated and shooting, she's punching holes in the target. So coming on here and grabbing a shotgun, it just didn't cross my mind based off of
totally
her pistol shoot.
Yeah.
Because she's a real good pistol shot.
When we went to the range, I was always pulling I was pulling in that same
But then you
direction.
dialed in.
Yeah, I definitely did.
You dialed in because you were probably compensating. And when you're shooting a pistol, you're out here. So
Sure.
it's not necessarily
More
that you're
straight.
having,
As
it's more
much,
straight
We
on.
did do both, and we were obviously both eyes open.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you caught that because it didn't actually.
That was cool.
It didn't. It should have, but it just didn't. Especially because we
I
were
thought
just at the range
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. It didn't cross my mind, and I'm behind her trying to hold her to make sure she's good. And y'all caught it. And I'm like, I'm glad
She
you
caught
did.
it.
Yeah, I'm
for sure.
I thought
very
it was just
glad.
like first time shooting a shotgun, just pulling the trigger, jerking the trigger, something like
Yeah.
that, pulling left, like that's normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you were consistent. That was
Yeah,
the
it
thing.
was- I aimed at the right one.
You were consistent.
Shooting for this one,
Yeah.
this one.
It wasn't that you were all over the place or that you were consistently hitting the same spot
Right.
every time.
Right.
And it was just, I'm just glad we figured it out.
Yeah,
And
that was huge.
we threw you for a loop, having you be a righty and switching you to shooting a right-handed shotgun on the left
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
and
That
That's
keeping,
a first.
Keeping-
I've never-
keeping both eyes open
Yeah.
too.
yeah.
Yeah, which is what I did today.
Yeah.
I took all the things you guys showed me Friday. But yeah, that was really
What happened today?
well, guess what?
Well,
Should we build that up just a little bit?
Yeah,
I think
there's
everybody can guess, but
Yeah,
I think so, too.
there's a lot that happened this weekend.
We
Okay,
had a really great night last night too. That was
We
a lot.
did.
Well, I mean, let's just start from the beginning, man.
We'll start from the beginning.
Because y'all story is just as wild.
Pretty wild.
Man. So,
We'll start
Yeah,
from the
you
beginning.
guys.
First of all, Jimmy, thank you for having us.
Yay, we appreciate you so
We
much.
I
know
love
that-
you, Jimmy.
You're wonderful.
We know that you put a lot of work ahead of time into us being here with scouting and looking for birds, and we know that all of that can change in a day, but it's still figuring out where we can hunt
Yeah.
on private land,
Yeah.
and that goes back to all of our conversations about relationships and about these people that you have you've become friends with,
Yeah.
and they trust you enough to let you have other people come hunt, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This circle right here has been built in the making over several years.
Yeah.
Via social media to a roundtable and stories that will just be passed down
Yep.
It's true.
forever at this point. So
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's true.
Yeah.
Hell of a weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So yesterday morning we got up. We all got up early and we headed out, and we went. And everybody knows hunting 2-on-2 is a whole lot easier than 4 people going
Sure.
out at the same time. And so we split up. And you guys went one place, and we went another place, and we kind of seen, like you saw
Yeah, Friday night.
Friday night.
We went out.
Mhm.
Friday night, Jen and I took the ride
Drove
to
around the block.
the
The block.
3 properties that we consider. Well, Jimmy knows consistently that there's birds at, but just because they're there one night doesn't mean they're there the next
Yeah.
night. So Friday night, I
It
said,
changed.
Friday night, I just got impatient. I was like, I just want to go drive around just so I know.
It
You
changed
and
from
I
Thursday
talked.
night to Friday night.
And
Yeah.
it did. But you and I talk every night. I'm like, I just want to take the ride myself. And Jen and I,
Give
we
us something
saw
to look at.
one of the properties we saw several times, and some hens going to a roost spot that we know that typically they're kind of at. Then we drove down the road again, seen another one, mostly hens, and then we drove down the road a little bit more to the third spot and seen some toms and seen some hens and some jakes and things like that. So when we drove back, we were all excited because Jimmy kind of knew that, but Amy, Jen, and myself was like, this is where it's at, because you don't game plan till you kind of
Yeah.
know. You can throw a
Yeah.
tentative game plan out there, but until you actually know.
So I said till Friday night, we don't know what we're doing.
Correct.
You know, and
Correct.
game changed. I can't think.
Yeah.
The plan changed from what you told me Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything was,
Right.
okay, I was going to go 30 minutes north, and we ended up right down the street.
Yeah.
So
That was cool
it
Friday
it was good scouting. I'm glad you did that because
Yeah.
we had a
It
great-
let you kind of see.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't even know what a turkey roosting would look like, or
Mhm.
where they would even. I really didn't even know the whole
No,
concept.
I mean, I explained it to her,
Yeah.
but until you see it, it's
It's
Meaning,
totally different.
all
Yeah.
different
Seeing
dynamic.
it was really cool because then you're like, oh, this is how it all starts. This is okay. This is where we come back tomorrow and look for them, and so
Yeah.
that was cool.
And I wanted her to see the potential spots that she'd be walking in and sitting, because
to see it in daylight versus to come in the dark.
Yeah. We all know if someone takes you to a spot blind, and I mean blind as in like you've never been there and the first time you approach it is in the dark. It's intimidating for lack of better terms because you're just following the leader at that point. You don't know how far until they're going to stop unless they're telling you could be 50 yards in, 500 yards in. So to see that tree, this corner, it at least makes some sort of sense. It obviously changes when you're out there in the morning still and you're following the person.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. Just same thing like, if you go see it and like, oh, I'm going to take you to this property 30 minutes north, you're like, okay, he can explain it to you. But until you shut that door and you walk in, you don't really understand the
depth. That was our Saturday morning. We went in totally blind.
Yeah, sometimes it's not until you're walking out that you actually see where you've come.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah, because it looked way different.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Jen.
Extremely different.
Wait till you walk out of here. This will make a world of sense as to where I walked you.
Or then even when we had drove the block, what you'd say, like the areas.
Yeah.
It didn't. You were explaining to me we're going to walk in this way, this way, this way. We'll sit, but I didn't even understand it until we actually did it.
Yeah.
You don't understand the concept of how far you're going in or actually where you're sitting.
And so you walked into a property a blind that you never been to.
Yeah.
And
I was half blind going in there. I haven't been back there in 3 years. So it's like, I'm just this might be soaking wet, might be underwater. We might not get that far.
Right.
Yeah. It might be right here on top of us,
Yeah.
And I had no clue going in, but I just based my info on what you told me.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're just going to try.
And that's a fairly big property to be walked into blind for the first time. There's a lot to get figured out walking into that property.
And we did, coming out of that morning, we did realize that if we had walked a little bit further, there might have been a better eyesight for the turkeys coming in, but we might have jumped them.
Yeah, we might. I think they would have definitely seen us if they didn't
where they were
see us
roosted.
already.
Right.
I was worried about them seeing me put the decoys out because I finally saw them on the roost and I was like, we might have got busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We very well could have been busted during this.
That's not an easy property to walk into.
No,
it looks, upon pulling up on that property,
looks straightforward.
You're like, wow, that's a beautiful property. I can see where I'm going to sit here. But if they're roosted on any of those edges, you're in a tough spot.
Well, and if you put anything too low, or if you sit too low, you can't see over the hill.
That's what our mistake is our decoys were just over the ridge where they could see them from a distance, but they're not paying attention until they get close. And it's like you're just hunting blind at that point.
Yeah. But y'all just hoping. It still worked out to a certain degree, though. I mean, the morning was exciting.
It was exciting. We had tons of gobbles in the morning. Mm-hmm. We saw them fly down. Yep. We saw them come around this little green space, and then they disappeared.
Yeah.
It was a huge tom with a couple of hens, and they just disappeared. Yeah. But a little bit later, we were sitting, and you stood up just to get a peek. And it was, I see two redheads.
Sit back down.
And so we sat back down, we got settled, and instead of two, there were three redheads and three crazy little jakes came scurrying in, but they would not break apart from each other. They were moving in unison.
It was wild. We've seen them come in and one property come in, and they were both. There was two jakes beating up on my decoy, but it wasn't like they were stacked. They were kind of stacked, but they were doing like this. These ones,
you couldn't get them 2-3 feet apart.
It was. She would get a second. I'd be like, all right, nope, all right, get ready, nope.
I was like, no.
It was like they were just heads on heads and bodies, and it was just a mix of.
That's a lot to digest, like in that moment.
Yeah, and you're like, which one do you aim at, and then. Finally, one broke off the left. She's aiming at the right. I'm like, shoot the one on the left. Because it finally cleared enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you tell them.
I missed. I missed completely. I must have shot over.
I think you shot high. Yeah.
They jumped, tried to shoot again. And at that point, they were too far. It was not meant to be.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
But it was cool. I had never been that close to a turkey coming in. I had never had three.
You see how aggressive they are coming in.
I have never seen them move like that. I've never seen them attack like that. I've never seen them curious, bobbing and weaving, checking out a decoy. It was really cool I don't know. That's the part of hunting
The
that's cool.
experience.
Is the experience, seeing how they work, see how they maneuver, how curious they are, how aggressive they could be.
I thought they were going to leave for a second, and I could hear her talking. Don't just come back, come back, come on, don't do it, just come back, come back. And then two were splitting off, and then one finally came back, and then they all came back. Once the one, you're like, this one's interested.
Yeah. Okay, small interruption. We had the dogs find a little something curious outside. But Jimmy, you were saying like when the Jakes were coming in, I was like, come on, come on.
She was sweet talking them back. And then two were like leaving, and then one was really showing interest. And I remember you saying that, like, oh, he's interested. And then finally they all broke and came right to the decoy and just. They didn't peck at it. I thought they were going to start beating it up.
It's like they had never seen something like that.
Yeah, they were just like, giving it a little
spin into it.
All three were right on top.
They were all together.
I mean, they were moving in unison.
I know the two. I didn't realize that the third one was
all more together.
And that's why she was so nervous about shooting him. And I was like, yeah, just give them a little bit of a gap. A 2-foot gap with a turkey load is pretty safe.
And they were close enough.
And they were hurry up and wait at that point.
We were 25 yards away. I set them up kind of close. And I was also worried about them. Like, dang, these decoys are close. But we had a decent setup, and they had no clue we were there. Like, it was actually worked out really great.
Even after we shot, I don't think.
They didn't know what happened.
Yeah,
they were trying to figure out where the heck did that come from.
Yeah, and then, one of them, the one she initially shot at, she shot at again, and it started to turn back. And I was like, they might, I started calling to try to get them to pull back, and that never works. I see it in the videos all the time. It never seems to work. But you missed a couple times, and
two, which I guess is a couple.
That's a couple. That's all right. It happens.
Hey, it's better than a few.
It's true.
Couple's better than a few.
I was like, and she was lining up the third shot. I was like, that's too far.
It's too
don't
far.
worry about
Yeah.
it.
No, you don't want to rush it. Even though with the excitement, everything going on, it's easy to make that
it wasn't worth it.
Rash decision in the moment, but that shows
we've done that,
right? Yeah. But it shows discipline, it shows patience, it shows experience, it shows it shows the character of the person to just not take that extra shot just to be able to say, well, I did it. Like you
shoot 3 times. If you miss after twice, like usually the third shot, even bird hunting, like doves hunting, you shoot 3 times.
You just eat it, man. You just eat it. It's just and not to mention, I don't know if you thought about this at that particular time, but this is early Saturday morning on a 2-day hunt. So if you eat it the first go, like you know that we're still.
It was about 7:30, and honestly, in the back of my head, I was also going, this ammo's so expensive.
How can you not right now?
Right now, it's like, okay, I'd like to get
shooting federals there. $5 ammo.
Yeah,
you're shooting like me $11 box, just
it's still, everything out there has gotten so expensive.
Yeah. But that's quite an experience to have Jake's come in and I there's a lot of discussion about decoys, when to use them, when not to use them, what part of the country to use them, how to use them, when to use them, blah, 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 blah. I do feel as though if there's any sort of a response to a decoy, and at wherever you're at, you have a better chance because their focus is on the decoy. They have an intention on the decoy, whether they're going to flog it, whether they're going to like it. Yeah. You have a little bit of room to make your adjustment, make your movement, things like that.
You
don't need to run around. But I do think that at times decoys are beneficial because that's where the focus ends up being, not on it trying to find the call per se, or like looking in depth in the woods to see if they see the hen. Like decoys have their value, and in that type of situation, you were good because all the attention was on the decoys, right? So even when you pulled your second shot, had to remove, you had room to make these
and they never saw,
right?
Yeah, they never knew anything.
There's a right way to use them. Yeah. There's a wrong way to use them.
Yeah.
There's this. And this was very beneficial.
I thought it was good for you were going after your first Eastern, so it's like we were debating on who got the decoys. I was like, you guys just split up because I've never had luck with decoys at the ranch until this year.
Right.
Like this was the first time when they came into yours and they came into hers today. That was the first time I've ever seen decoys work out here.
They didn't gobble. Those Jakes.
Well, those Jakes, they don't. They might, but they usually come in quiet.
Yeah.
That's why I was
very quiet. They were extremely quiet.
Yeah, we've never had a lot of experiences in the last 2-3 years with Jake's coming in all hot and fired up. They usually come, but when they're coming,
curious.
they're coming on a beeline.
Yeah,
you know?
those ones
fast.
Off, and we realized after she shot that the group was down in the bottom of this cornfield because we saw another turkey fly up, and then one gobbled. And
You
I was
just
like,
couldn't see.
hey, there's toms down there still, but these jakes were coming to me calling because they were like, okay, these hens are occupied with the toms. Let's break off and see what's over here.
They were curious.
They were curious, and it worked out, but. And obviously, it worked out later too because we can fast forward throughout the day.
But it was we got to take a little bit of time after that and figure out a better spot to come back to that evening, depending on what happened throughout the day. And then we saw you guys on the road and kind of recapped our mornings because you guys had heard gobbles.
Yep, we did.
And you saw birds, right?
We saw them early. We saw them really
right
early
off
on.
the roost.
And they.
You got a first chance to hear your first gobbles in the morning.
It was really cool.
First chance to see several fly off the roost.
Yep.
We were.
They ended up going in, and you had said that they're either going to go in this direction or towards us, and they ended up going the opposite direction.
Right, and we were a few hundred yards away. We would have had to pull them quite a ways away, and it's not that they don't come through that area, but there's an understanding, I think, and you've taught me this, and you and I kind of understand this. If they're going to pull across that road, you're more than likely going to see an afternoon type of situation coming off of that area.
Late morning,
Right. So, but it was cool for the first sit, for Jen's first ever in the woods sit in a potential hunting situation. You heard it. They were fired up. There's no question about it. We heard them all over.
You learned.
I learned a lot. And I also learned comfortable stance. We sat in the tree, because I never had to sit, be quiet, get comfortable with, potentially taking a shot or anything like that. So we played with that a lot too.
Yeah.
And then it was fun to watch them take off into, was that a cornfield?
Yeah.
It was fun to watch them kind of take off in that direction and just eat their way through out of our sight.
Yeah.
It was like, bye.
Who knows what those birds went? We don't.
There was
but I gave Jen the binos, and when I realized that they weren't going to come this way, I said take advantage of it, grab the binos, and just see.
Yeah. At that distance, you got a lot of when I sit there, man, I'm up and down, moving around. Where do I go? You've got a lot of time. They can't. They can't see that far.
Yeah, right.
And it's nice to just get yourself comfortable and get ready and prepare. But
and she saw her first couple of big birds strutting, coming off of the hill, strutting and everything like that. And it was good. It's just a good first sit, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
to see them come off the trees.
Yeah.
And neat. And
it's funny to watch them go up. They're before the
I had in my head last night when we were sitting together. I was like, do they need like a airport runway to get up?
Yes.
That work.
Yes.
And I don't think I still haven't seen one get up. I've seen one come down.
Furthest turkey I've ever seen. That hen the other day, we jumped at my boss's property. That's the furthest flight I've ever seen from a turkey.
Well, then the one we saw.
And it didn't get a running start.
She got a little running start. She was up there, man. That was pretty interesting.
The other good thing, I think, this is my opinion, and I don't know if y'all share this or not, but the fact that she got up early, did her hunt, seen things, got a chance to understand what the possibilities are and everything like that, but it didn't just pan itself out right away. I feel as though that was, as a hunter, I think that was a better situation for her to be in instead of just being able to have, and there's nothing wrong with being able to go on your first hunt and have something happen in 20 minutes either. But the realization of it all is things aren't just going to happen, right? So I was kind of glad in my own inner self that it didn't just work out. Now, flip side, I would have loved for her to have shot one on her first sit, but that's the realization of hunting is you don't go on your first sit 20 minutes into seeing something and harvest something. Does it happen? Sure, but I wanted her to understand that we're hunting, we're not killing, and this is the long game here. We're in this.
I think last year it took me 5-6 days to get even on a turkey, and
so crazy.
I think that at the end of it, I even said if I had gotten a bird the first day, I would have thought turkey hunting was simple.
Yeah, of course.
And turkey hunting's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Turkey hunting is not simple.
That's why I told y'all when you got here, you
99%.
probably won't kill one.
Yeah, your chances are slim.
The chances are slim.
Knock on wood, I've had fairly
You've had some good hunts.
I've had some good hunts so far. I'm sure that all good things come to an end at some point too. But
we've experienced with deer hunting.
We've been we've been pretty fortunate, but yeah, that was Saturday morning. We ran into y'all.
Well, then when we left there, it was, and also like a really cool experience was the weather shifting, the temperature differences and stuff like that. Because then by the time that sun came up, which was awesome to see, the sunrise, and then that cool, damp settling, right? And then after that was probably when we were like, well, let's go get something to eat. Yeah, I was like, let's go get something to eat.
We were chilly too. It's pretty chilly.
We ran into y'all coming down the road, which was purely by chance too. I mean, I was like, I think we're gonna head out of here. I turned the corner. I'm like, oh, that's Jimmy. So, and then y'all made a. I mean, to me, that's a big decision. You're almost midday, and then y'all decided to take a 30, 40-minute ride to go.
Let's go check out this spot.
Early morning into a property where you know that there's turkey, but you also know that you're walking in early, mid-morning on a property where there's turkeys,
They could be, I was nervous about going in there because I didn't know where they were. I was telling her, like, we might just blow them out of here.
Yeah. Which we did. We bumped that pin walking in. Yeah.
I thought it was a good decision, but I also thought it was a tough decision.
It's risky.
Good for the reason of expanding where we're going to hunt at, but I'm like, this could go one of two ways.
Yeah. We might be back in an hour. We might be back in. We might get up there, blow them out, and leave.
But it did go.
It did go great.
A certain type of way, didn't it?
It did go great. We pulled in, and there was a guy across in the other field walking out with a turkey, and we were like, oh.
I was a little upset. I was like, man, I should have came up here first,
I would have tried not to show it, but I would have been damn like.
I mean, it was equal parts excitement for him because it was a fine turkey. It was a great bird.
Biggest bird I've ever seen on a turkey.
So we went and congratulated him, and because you want to, you're excited for other people, and we went and we checked it out and we looked and shook his hand and chit chatted for a second, and then walked in.
Yeah.
And we bumped that hen first off the bat.
I said, let's stop here and call. I let 2 calls out. This hen blows up. She looks at me like, well. I'm like, well.
Let's keep.
What do we do now?
Keep going.
You got one of 2 decisions right now. Like we're done, or let's just see.
But she didn't.
She didn't blow. She didn't
touch
or anything
nothing.
Like that. She just flew away. Yeah, she might have been trying to nest or something.
Which in that situation is probably the best thing to have happen with no warnings, no clucking, no anything.
Yeah,
like
she just got out of there. The best decision we ended up making was turning left when we did, because my boss's property has a bunch of cut trails for like 4-wheeler riding and whatever. And I was like, well, we're going to swing really wide and come back into these woods where I think they're usually on top of this ridge in the woods. And I was like, let's swing.
We took
wide.
a couple steps.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? Let's turn right here and just go up the edge of the woods, whatever.
Gut instinct.
Yeah. And I just turned right there. We walked to this muddy spot, and we hadn't called but that one time. And all of a sudden, it's gobble, hammered. I'm like,
we didn't even call.
We didn't call right then. I was like, we got to sit down. And they were 50, 60 yards away at that point. And I was like, we got to sit down quick. And we sat down on the first tree that was there. There's nothing in front of us. There's one spot to shoot. I'm like, they're not going to come there. I was like, they're not going to come there. We can't move any further up this tree.
And they're just hammering.
No, and they were hitting it. And I was like, they're coming, Amy. Sit down, get ready.
Yeah.
And we did, and then we hear them spitting. And we hear them spitting and drumming. And they're coming. And she's like, I see them. And I'm like,
I saw their heads.
I saw their heads bobbing through. I'm like, okay, I see them too. And I'm sitting like right over her shoulder trying to look and trying to call or whatever and getting ready. And they're like, they might come down this trail. I'm in my head. I'm like, they're not going to come down this trail. Like, they're not coming down this trail. They're not going to turn and walk right in front of us. Mm-mm. They walk down this deer trail. And she's turning left, turning left, turning left, turning left.
Every time they went behind some brush, I was like, turn.
Turn a little bit. Slowly like a clock, but backwards.
Yes.
And, they're spitting and strutting. They're fired up. And I was like, there was one window coming up hard left for her. And at that point, I'm looking over her head, trying to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you get a window, this is it. If they give you a shot, take it. It was a poke. We went back by it.
They were also together, and I saw the front one, but I couldn't see where the back one was. Yeah. And in my head, I mean, you're drilled over and over one bird. And so I could see the front one about to take a step out, but I didn't know where the second one was.
And that's what you had said that, and I was like, they're plenty far apart. They had 4 steps in between them, 4 or 5 steps. And I was like, you're good there, but she couldn't see it. So
2 different seats, 2 different perspectives.
Exactly. Right. And I'm higher.
Even if
you never know.
Yeah, even if you're a couple feet apart, it's a different perspective.
At the end of the day, I'm the one pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and it's all on her.
Yeah.
So it's your perspective that really matters. Doesn't matter what I tell you.
Doesn't matter what I see. Yeah.
The story that we'll get into in a little while was the same situation.
Correct.
I see. I'm like, I don't see. So you're kind of on your own a little bit, you know. But
But it is when the first one came out, the other one was behind a tree, and at that point, I knew if I take a shot, I'm good.
Right.
And so I think you said, tell me if you want me to
call him,
get his head to poke up. And I think I just was like, okay.
Yeah, boom. You said okay. She was like, okay. I'm like, okay, what? I'm like, you want me to call? And then bam, she shot. And it tumbled, and then it took off running a little bit. We had to put the foot on the head, as they say, but it worked out.
It was a good chase.
Yeah, it was a good chase.
We almost had the opportunity to double up.
Yeah, I grabbed the shotgun. I went up running like 10 feet, and I was like, wait, give me the gun.
Because we only had one gun.
Yeah, the other one was standing there. And I took like a 40-yard shot, and I just missed that bird. Like, he's fine. He took off running, and I'm like, well, whatever. Let's get yours.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were there for. We weren't there for me. We were there for you. And yeah, it worked out. We
were both. We were breathing heavy up that hill.
And I'm running in boots, and I've got my fanny pack on, my bino harness, and stuff flying everywhere. And I'm
just
trying to run up this hill, and I'm like,
we were here making hamburger patties, and you sent the picture to Alan. We were happy dancing in the kitchen. We're like, no way! You literally had. You guys just got there.
Yeah.
You had just got there.
Oh yeah. Should we backtrack and preface this by saying that from shutting the door and congratulating the person to Amy shooting was maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the guy told us, he's like, that was the fastest one I've ever been on. It was 15 minutes. I was like, that's pretty cool.
And we walked in. He had said that too?
Said
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
So we walked in, and we weren't, my boss texted me. He's like, I got there at 9:30. So we had just got there after him. And he texted me, I sent you the picture at 10:02.
Mm-hmm.
And he texted me, well, that was fast. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we're done.
We seen you at 9:15, 9:20. Mind you, if you heard what we said earlier, it's a 30-minute ride.
Yeah.
9:15, 9:20, a 30-minute ride. I get a text at 10:02 with a picture of a dead bird and he's smiling.
Crazy.
It was like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that was really neat.
That's adrenaline. That's
wild.
It doesn't give you a whole lot of time to think. It doesn't give you a whole lot of time. Like with the Jakes.
Yeah, we got nervous. We were both of us sitting there like just shaking after the fact.
Like I was shaking like crazy because you have all of that time to think and to process and to overthink. Yeah. And in this instant, it was it's no time.
It's kind of the best way sometimes.
I like it like that because it's just
life like that.
It's like with deer hunting, you know, you get into deer hunting and then you're watching this buck for sometimes you get to the point where it's been so long you can calm down, but I like them quick.
There's a window.
Like, real quick, come in, like, this is it, bam.
Make your decision, stand by it.
Yeah. And that's how this was. And it was exciting.
We got
you got your first Easter.
I got my first Easter.
And a good one. And mind you,
that was
a big one. Yeah, that was a
big one.
It was a nice one.
You can be subtle if you want. That was a doggone big bird. I mean...
I was like, I can't see Amy. I just see a giant bird on her back.
Yeah.
Where is she?
We took a picture of that to see how long the bird was compared to our body.
It's a big bird. It was exciting.
Almost
and for y'all that haven't seen Amy, and a lot of you have, she's 5 foot nothing, basically. So that bird covered her. Big bird.
It was fun. It was fun. I don't know. I was just smiling because that's what it's all about. At the end of the day is that your decisions that you make on the shots that you don't take, on the decisions on the shots that you do take, that it comes together. And that was, I don't know, it was just,
a lot of work. Let me rephrase that. It might have been 20 minutes, but there's a lot of work that went into getting to that particular moment as well. And it doesn't matter if you only walked in for 20 minutes or 3 hours. There's a lot that happened.
What you don't see, what you don't see is 3 years of hunting Easterns on public land and on private land and not getting those opportunities.
Right. So all of a sudden it's in your face and that you respond. Now I'm in your face, respond. That's decision making.
Yeah.
That's not easy. It's fun telling the story. It's fun. Someone's going to listen to this and be like, that's awesome. That was 20 minutes. But you don't realize that is a very difficult situation to be in, especially because you could say that 3 years of not getting it, you have experience, but you're not on bird experience, right? So there's a lot for you to digest in a very short amount of time to make sure that you are comfortable as to the point you're making. You're the shooter, your hunt, your shot, your everything. That's a lot for you to just all of a sudden be on because no one expects to. Listen, you might want to, but no one expects to walk in there in 15, 20 minutes and be in a situation where you got to decide whether or not 2 birds are in one shot. Do I have the right shot? I only have one window. You're sitting down on a tree that you weren't ready to sit down on.
Stinks.
Right. So it's an amazing story to tell. It's great. You can visualize it, how cool it might be.
But you don't know everything that goes into
that is a tough situation to actually be in, when you really digest it from a hunting standpoint.
Shooting over your left shoulder, all of it.
Right.
Yeah. It's going back to what we were saying earlier to you, Jimmy, about creating those relationships with people. That goes all the way back to that. It's a lot more than just a 15-minute hunt, but it's really cool.
Absolutely.
That it was a 15-minute hunt.
Telling that story is amazing.
It was the fastest turkey hunt I've ever done.
But for anyone who's done it, they're going to realize there's a lot that went on. If you're listening to the details of that story, you're going to realize there's a lot that went on in a short period of time.
There's a lot of mental stuff that went on in that time.
Yeah,
it was great.
When you walked in with the bird, I was so grateful to get a learning, because I was a 4th grader asking all the questions about the bird, and then you process the bird, and it was fascinating to watch, literally fascinating, and it was just really neat to see it being done just right here. I have a rule for my kids when they first started hunting. Yeah. They had to see the process before I'd let them pull a trigger.
Yeah. And see, that was what the point I was just going to make was.
I really enjoyed watching that yesterday, and you did it, which was great to watch.
She's seen meat get broke down, but I don't take the carcass. I usually always break down and process meat before I come home.
Yeah.
So I'll come home and do cleaning or further processing or something like that. But with deer or turkey, I always bring home the cooler with some bags with more work to do. But she's never seen me come through the house with turkeys that I've got, a deer that I got, or she's never seen that part.
And we talked about that last year on the podcast. We talked about how you were grateful about that because especially with deer, it was a very sensitive way of you knowing what she could handle, how much she could handle. And it being a turkey, it's a perfect way to introduce processing.
Yeah, no, it definitely was.
I mean, we've been together almost 20 years, and I just picked up hunting. I'm coming into my 4th year, so 16 years of being together, and all of a sudden I just say one day I'm going to go hunt and walk in the house with a
giant animal that needs to be broken down. That's a lot to process.
It is.
It's a culture shock.
Yeah,
100%.
We've never been used to that. I don't think I could even handle watching it, and that's just because that's just how I've been. My process of
There's nothing wrong with it.
There isn't anything wrong with it.
But you see Amy's bird get broke down yesterday, and you realize that the process is respectful and not.
Like I had said yesterday, just watching you break it down and then opening up and getting those giant breasts of meat. Yeah, and not being funny, but not taking the head off. Something that would have been a little bit more from that I probably would have been ready to handle. So it was just a very loving process of what you just spent all your time.
Disrespect for the animal in the beginning and the end.
I knew that even when you've gone hunting, but to watch it was definitely.
And I'm glad you've had the full experience. And
I feel like I've got it was like a crash course.
You got a fully immersion. You were immersed in the process.
You deserve that.
I got the culinary part of it. I've gotten
You did get the full turkey hunting experiences.
Yeah. And even asking Amy it's the tendons. How do the feathers stick together? Where's the organs? All that.
But that's normal.
Yeah. But it was very interesting. And
so we got that done.
Yes.
And then we took a break for just a little bit. It was, I needed a nap.
Yeah.
We rested for a minute.
It was beautiful out.
We rested and kind of shifted our viewpoint on, okay, we still have goals.
Yeah.
We still have, we still had some things we needed to do.
Yeah. The goal of the entire weekend was for both you ladies to get yourselves on some birds to the best of our ability. Now you had one on opening morning, by the way. Let's just say that.
That's never happened to me before.
So opening day, you get yours. The first property that y'all went to previously we were stating how y'all did a little bit more like research, a little bit more looking around. Y'all figured out a spot that
we knew they were there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Y'all figured out a spot for us to go take advantage of. So we decided later in the afternoon that we'd go sneak back into that.
All four of us.
All four of us.
Fun.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can pause the screen right now, call us crazy. You can do whatever you want to do, but we decided the four of us should walk in there, and Jen was up next to.
I felt like I was learning from the professionals. I was held under 3 wings. Or 6 wings.
So
6 wings.
We go back to that first property that y'all were on that morning.
And we hear a gobble right away.
Yeah, we didn't make it but 100 yards in, and we were like, because the spot that we were going to go to was probably a few 100 yards into that field. Yeah. We get maybe 100 yards in ish. And whoa, bam!
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted a midday or like afternoon gobble. I was like, if they're not talking, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But if we hear one gobbling, we have a chance of pulling them in.
Yeah.
And we did.
It gobbled.
Yeah, we ended up. Yeah, we took a seat in one spot for like I don't know, maybe an hour.
Roughly an hour, something like that.
And he never really stopped gobbling.
Yeah,
no, he never did. Close.
Was that like every 20,
he did not get closer.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
Something like that.
And I looked at you.
Relatively consistent.
I was talking to her because Amy and I were sitting back behind him.
He sounded far.
And I was like, if he gobbles one more time, he's in the same spot, we're moving. And I texted you that, or I told you that. I was like, hey, 30 minutes or one more gobble, we're moving.
Yeah.
And he gobbled one more time. I was like, all right, let's just go back to where we had.
He was over that ridge.
Yeah, he was far.
Maybe 2 fields over.
Yeah, we went further to where Amy and I had set up the spot the day or that morning and got set up. We sat there 20 minutes maybe. And I was like, I was just set the decoys out. We're getting comfortable. Alan's nodding off. We're all kind of just relaxing a little bit, And I'm like flicking sticks at Alan trying to mess with her.
I was wondering if anybody caught that, but I might have done a head nod.
I looked at Amy. I nudged him and I go, it's not enough.
I had to shift so many times because that one tree I was up against,
it wasn't a big tree for 2 people.
So then I was like, babe, I got to put my back up against yours. And that was comfy.
Yeah.
But I turned around, I felt a rock hit me. I was like, what the heck?
We were messing with you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, then we heard
we 20 minutes, I think, and I was like, all right, I'll call. And I don't even know how many clucks I let out. I started cutting, and then he hammered. And he was so close, loud. And he was just in this spot. I'm like,
behind us.
Yeah, and I sat down. I was like, our luck, he's gonna come.
Yeah. He said the same thing.
I said to her, this is a great spot. The worst thing that can happen is they come from the bowl behind us working up the ridge. That's the worst thing that can possibly happen.
That's what he did.
And I told her, as soon as he gobbled, I was like, I told you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if he gobbles again, I looked at y'all and I said, if he gobbles again, move. Like, get over here and sit down. And I hit him again and he gobbled. And I was like, all right, he's coming. Like, he's going to come.
We all shifted.
We all rotated. Y'all got in front of us. They didn't shoot past us. And then
we shifted to another tree.
Yeah. Y'all had to go in about 10 yards.
10 yards,
Back and
stay low, made the move, got readjusted. Yeah. Jen and I were split. Jen and I were probably 3 yards apart, 4 yards apart. We were on different trees. But
we decided the tree between us.
Yeah,
because you kept, and you called again.
Yeah, he was coming.
We said that we were going to split the tree because she's shooting lefty, I'm shooting righty, and the way he was, we potentially thought that he would work this ridge was if he came up over that dead log and her shooting lane, she was going to take from this middle tree over, and he worked his way further up that ridge and peeked over by me.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm totally fine. You take that shot because I'm sitting in the righty stance. I have this side covered. So we had hush discussed, you take this tree, I'll take this tree, just what happens. And then all of a sudden I hear click. I go,
I heard that safety click up.
I go, are you on safety? She's like, yeah. I go, put it back on safety. She's like, okay, click again. And then a minute later, she's like, babe, Babe,
I saw his head.
Yeah.
Babe, I see him.
He was right there.
And I can't see
You
him.
called him in so good.
Yeah, he
Alan
came
was
right on
like,
it.
Jimmy's working that call because he is like, it was.
You had to
he
hit
did a
him.
Great
and
job.
Just like we did with Amy's bird.
He was aggressive.
Yeah, and the guy told us when we come walking out with that bird he shot, he's like, I just got really aggressive with the call. And so I did the same thing. Hers came right in.
You went ham on that thing.
Yeah,
And
you
just
did a
started
great job.
cutting at him really hard, and he came right in. And I saw him for a second. I'm whispering to her because, again, I'm looking over her head trying to watch everything. And I'm like, I see him, man. I see his head moving. And
yeah, she saw him. She's like, babe.
Yeah.
And then she's like, babe, I see him. I see him. I said, all right, take your gun
He
off
was
safe.
about.
She takes the gun off safe. And I can't see, but if she says she can see him, I know that she's not making up. She sees the head.
Yeah.
She knows what she's about to do. And I said to her, I go, do you have a clean shot? She's like, no, I can only see his head and he's just moving a little bit. And I was like, all right, well, if you get a clean shot, you can take the shot.
Yeah. He was in range. I mean, I'm sure he was probably not even more than 30 yards.
Yeah.
But after Friday, when we had gone to practice, I was like, I knew that I needed a little bit more of that body.
A little more body, yeah.
Yeah, to see. And that log, all it looked like was like one of those, like the carnival shot. You know, it's just the head bobbing by. And he literally was there for me for about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
He was pretty, though.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it showed this. Again, I've said this. Some people would have taken that shot just to be able to take the shot at the head and at least make the shot opportunity maybe happen and stuff. But it takes a lot of discipline to see something with the gun in hand, get safety off, and say, no, I'm not going to take the shot.
You knew your ability.
Yeah,
you knew your ability.
I knew that, right.
Yeah.
There's like,
And that takes a lot of self-control.
I said, if I was in that situation and I saw what you saw
It
for
would've
those
been
4
different for
seconds,
you
I might have
and
taken
you.
that shot.
I
I might
It would've been
have put it
different for
right on his head.
I toyed. So shortly after she didn't take the shot, this bird kept up the ridge another, I would say, 5 to 8 yards to the point where I saw his head peek up doing like a locate, trying to like look to see,
he didn't
like,
see anything.
where he was at. He didn't see anything at that point. But I could have beated his head and taken that shot. I definitely could have. I had about a 4-second window, which is enough time to put sight on it and take that shot. But I'm thinking to myself, it's not crystal clear. I shot the gun. I'm comfortable with it, but we're on her hunt per se.
Yeah.
And if this bird stays the course, we can get him out of sight and make that readjustment, and hopefully he'll make his way to the field, being that the fact that we know that the birds are in the field every night. So maybe he's just moseying on, trying to locate. And right, that was the hope. And that was the whole reason why the shot didn't
But he
happen
stayed
at that
close
point.
for a while.
We toyed with him for another.
He was angry.
He was like, where is she?
I think it wasn't, but after 7:15 is when it finally all stopped.
Yeah, it went
It was
quiet.
a while.
Well, I made, this bird kept firing off for a while, and we kept thinking he was coming to the field, and then Jimmy made a move very quietly. He digressed himself down the ridge to about 40 yards.
He went down the hill.
I went
a
right.
little bit.
I was like, you sounded far.
Yeah.
So I was only like 40 yards from you.
Yeah, he started making some calls, and he kept hammering. But then there was a point where I felt like he was making the calls, and he was facing either the green patch or the corn. And then at some point, the gobble that I heard, I was nervous that he was going to backtrack back down this
where
ridge.
we were the last
I'm looking at Amy behind me, and I'm like, what do you think? She's like, I think he's going to come that way. And I was like, and then I heard the next one, and I was like, if he doubles back, there's no chance at this point. So I crawled over with my 260-pound ass, if you think you can crawl. I scurried over there, you know what I mean? And I tried to cover the ridge point and left Jen and Amy, you pushed up with Jen at that point. And I think we got like one more, and then that was, he went quiet. And the potential of me making that move could have separated the whole
we also,
whatever, but there's no pinpoint way of telling, but in the same sense, that was a very interesting hunt, because it was you got a chance to hear this thing get fired up.
Well, when I was sitting there with you, and then I was sitting there with you, you could hear him. He'd come close, and then it felt like you just backed off.
He just was spinning.
He was spinning.
He was spinning.
Oh.
He'll turn. His god will be facing you, and then he'll turn around this way, and his god will be facing away, and it sounds 30 yards.
That's what he was.
But we also decided that was a really smart bird.
Yeah, it was very smart.
Yeah, he was stubborn.
He was cautious.
I want to say he was a little bit older. He wanted that hen to come to him. He was not coming any further.
No, he didn't come any further. We didn't know if he was on the field edge, on the adjacent property, or if he was in the woods. Mm-hmm. And he likely saw one of you guys move
Probably
or
one of us
something.
move, yeah.
And that's, that's learning. You would beat yourself up over it, but
I really
you
enjoyed
have
that,
to
though.
learn.
No, because at the end of the day, like mentally, I know better. But in that situation, I went, well, covering.
I mean, it's a smart decision to cover that back.
Covering the back ridge and covering the open field was the thought that went through my head. And then I made the move. And then I moved to one more tree and I went, you know what? I'm probably exposed now. And he went quiet. And it wasn't, there's no definitive way of saying you blew this hunt. But in the same sense,
just, like. It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, right. It wasn't obviously because things worked out later on down the road. But
that was a lot of fun though, because the experience of just being patient and listening to it and then having to shift and turn and move. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is great.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were on a mission. Yeah, it was like Mission Impossible.
It felt very much like
it was a tough one. And those are the ones that frustrate even like me, just sitting there trying to call because like, what do? Your best call is being quiet.
Correct.
But then you don't, like we had talked about last year, like you don't want them to lose interest.
Yeah,
right.
But you also you don't want to overdo it because the hen is supposed to come to the gobbler. Yeah. That's how this works. Right. Like a lot of times they'll come in, they'll look, but ultimately she's supposed to come to him, and that's what he was doing. He was playing hard to get.
Which means he's had plenty of hens in his life.
Yeah, he's experienced.
He's experienced.
But he knows call, especially when we saw him, we knew that he was trying to locate because his head was way up. He's looking around. He's gobbling different directions. Yeah. He's trying to locate.
He's like, point. I came this far. You come meet me the rest of the way.
If I could go back and redo that, I would have left y'all there on the initial tree and just had you spin around, and I would have moved us because if he might have came up a little bit further. I don't know. But that way, I don't know. I was thinking about that last night. Like maybe we should have moved back and somewhere else and left you guys there so you weren't shooting past us.
Right.
On the ridge?
Like on the ridge. So maybe he would have came up a little bit further, but you just don't know.
I don't know. He was determined to just keep going that way.
The easiest thing is to sit here and play the what if game.
Yeah, and if and maybe if you would have been a little bit further on the ridge, you probably shot him.
Right.
But you're pushing the property line at that point too.
That log was the divider.
Yeah. Because if we scurried down to that dead log and I sat her in the dead log and let her rest the shotgun on top of that dead log and with her head showing, it'd have been a dead shot. But the what if game is the easiest game to play in the entire world.
He might have seen you get down to that log.
100%.
He was close. He wasn't 60 yards away when we first heard him gobble. I'm like, crap, he's close.
And there were no leaves on those trees.
Yeah, we're also
there's no cover.
It's southern Michigan, and the leaves are just starting to bloom.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to get covered back. Right. So the woods are wide open. It's tough. But
it was good to walk away.
We got to see also some deer. You guys got super close to some deer. We saw some of that doe come out of the wood. Mm-hmm. She just, it sounded like us walking in.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. They were just like,
that was the point I couldn't move. I had a dozen deer probably within 30 yards behind me.
They were so up in those woods.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was really cool.
So what did you think of the second hunt of the day, being that it was significnically longer for one? That was the 4 or 5 hour hunt,
Yeah, and it was warm out.
And sitting in two different positions, making the move and everything like that. Was that an exciting thing? Was there a part of that that you liked more, that you didn't like? Like,
no,
what did you think of that?
The whole thing was exciting. Actually, that was more exciting than just sitting still for 4 hours.
We had a turkey talking with us.
Yeah, it wasn't like we didn't have any. And I saw him.
Yeah,
and I was set and ready to shoot. So it was a big lead up to that. And then I knew that I didn't have that shot. So it was good to just experience it all. Mm-hmm.
We fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
To early this morning.
Yeah, early.
Oh, yeah.
These guys woke up on time. You guys were up and at 'em at 10 o'clock in the morning.
We're in a blacked out room. Let's just start with that
comfy.
one. And we're sleeping, and I open up my eyes and realize that my phone died throughout the night because I passed out with the headphones on watching turkey videos. It was you ready? It was 8 o'clock in the morning. On the dock.
Well, and we had decided the night before that it would be better for just you two to go out because there might be a better 4 people's heart.
Right.
It was fun, but it's a lot, and there's 4 people moving.
Yeah, and in the early morning, because that was the plan for you guys to go early. Yep. But in the early morning, sneaking in with 2 people is a whole lot better than 4.
Yeah.
I was pushing for 5. We were like, before we went to bed, he's like, "Nah, we're gonna get up." I was like, "Fine." We were exhausted though.
go.
This whole weekend,
we came home. We had a great dinner last night.
Yeah,
and we cooked
so
some snow geese, and that was a great experience. I never had it. It was delicious. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And but we got up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and
we had a great night's sleep.
Yeah,
well rested.
I was so well rested.
At that point, I'm like, should
we
we
were showered? We were well rested.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, should we? Because it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's a tough walk in.
It's out there. I think this is the best place to get in a late start because you can drive around, you can see birds. They're like, okay, they're in this field, like you said. Y'all finally went, and you said, "There's jakes in this field." I was like, "We'll set up on them." You're like, "Here we are." I was like, "Okay, you might be able to pull birds from across another field into that field," and I'm like, "That's what I did last year."
Yeah,
I was.
And that was the whole
11
reason
o'clock in the morning when I shot my bird last year, and just riding around like, "Oh, well, there he is. I'm going to try to set up."
Yeah.
And
so we went to a different property, which is across the street from the property that we were all on last night. This property though has visual of the property that we hunted last night. Mm-hmm. So as you can probably already imagine how the story goes, sure as crap, you're looking across the field and here comes one gobbler out the corner, that relative
where we were basically
right there.
Exactly.
I give her the binos. I'm like, you see, he's strutting, just a single time, come out,
but
strut,
he had said the same thing, that if we had tried to go into that spot, we would have scared him.
No, we would have.
So there's no way we would have been able to do that unless we got there early this morning.
About 15 minutes later, across the field, same thing, another tom comes right to the top of that little hill, struts his stuff for a second, walks out of sight. I'm like, well, that's interesting. At least we got a chance to see him. Like, I don't know. And I start clucking like hard. I'm hitting the call real hard to see if it will carry.
Yeah,
pretty windy.
It's pretty windy. That's what's tough.
I didn't think it would, but I'm like, man, let me just.
You gotta yelp real loud.
You did them pretty loud.
I did. I hammered that thing. I'm hammering this thing as loud as I can get that thing to go.
I assume the wind would carry it.
No, it'll cut it down. And then we're sitting there, and it's just quiet.
Yeah.
Probably I think we were there for 2 hours. I think probably.
No gobbles.
No gobbles, no nothing like that. I think I threw off a call maybe every 20, 30 minutes at that point. And we're pushing 10 o'clock and sitting there talking about just her and I sitting in the woods in Michigan, and just enjoying the actual moment of being together. It's her second day hunting, and I finally have gotten her to hunt with me. I got my wife sitting next to me in the woods
with a gun.
Right.
That's awesome.
We said it too. Like, well, if this isn't going to happen, let's just stay a little bit longer and let's just sit together and enjoy ourselves before we head back to the city.
The weather was gorgeous. Like, we had a beautiful breeze that you're like, I could just lean up and nod off.
Sleep on that tree.
Sleep on this tree.
So we decided, we're like, well, I said, here, put my bag on the side of you and let's work.
Started researching some guns that a shotgun properly for me.
Yeah, we're looking up. Well, I'm on my phone. I'm looking up lefty shotguns.
We were talking, what are we making for dinner later?
Yeah.
Like, this is great. The best weekend. I was like, dying for some coffee.
Yeah.
But we can sit for longer. This is fun.
I looked at my watch. I was like, let's give it another 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I said, we'll head out of here. I go, because the property owner, he was talking about maybe plowing out the fields in a little while and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, babe, while we're here, let's work on getting you in a proper turkey position, setting your gun, being that you're lefty. Let's get you comfortable.
Yeah.
She took my bag. She put my bag on the side of her. She made her adjustments. She gave me comfortable spots.
I moved too, because the tree was leaning this way. Mm-hmm. I was like, God, that's so uncomfortable. So we just kind of split this way. And like you said, it gave me the bag, and I leaned up my elbow and the butt of the gun there, and I was like, I am comfortable. Yeah, that's what I was ready for now.
Yeah. I'm sitting there.
I was set.
We're sitting there and we're talking, and I didn't see him. She saw him, and all of a sudden she's like,
well, we got into we practiced because we were looking at the decoys. So I was like, that was a perfect lineup, and I
was having a lineup on the decoys. Like I said, get your gun ready. I go find your beat, find out where you would shoot at.
Here, let's just line up and just practice. So
that's smart.
Yeah, we did. And so I found the most comfortable spot on. I was my right knee up, and then he was doing his, and we were taking different aims at different things.
I was trying to show her how to sit in a shooter stance, so that all she had to do was just kind of slide her elbow up to her knee.
My gun up.
Very minimal movement.
I was tucking that underneath because it was so long. Yeah. Even having it on my knee, because I had to so I just shifted it out like this.
Yeah.
And when we were doing that, we were going to get up and go. We were like, all right, we'll go get some.
And then all of a sudden they hear, are those But are those turkey vultures? I look. I go, where?
First part, right?
She goes, right there. I look and I'm like, oh. I go, there's 2 redheads. And then all of a sudden I was like, that's 3 birds. And I was like, no gobbles, real quiet. No strutting, no nothing like that going on. I said, babe, I think we got some jakes coming in our way. I go, if they come in the way, I go, you're going to take a jake. No, like hands down, like you're going to shoot. And so they kept coming.
From the moment we saw them, they moved quick.
Yeah.
Oh, if they're on a mission, they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah. And they didn't see the decoys, but we knew the moment that they did see the decoys because they were kind of moseying along looking, and then all of a sudden there was a little bit of like head down, kind of forward, and they started making a little bit of a move.
I'm sure they saw them coming over the ridge, but then like once they get closer, they're like, all right, time, you know. They're probably just like, all right, let's just see what's happening.
They're facing us, so I can't see the bear per se.
Yeah, they were literally just coming straight in.
That's awesome.
Three of them
came very camouflaged.
They were side by side, 1, 2, 3, side by side. And then 2 went forward and 1 broke towards the creek. I was like, well, this is interesting. But then the 2 that came forward, they turned a little sideways. And I realized at that freaking point, we got 3 big ass toms. I'm like, oh,
which is also not normal.
I was like, is that normal? Is this what happened?
I told her straight up, I go, no. Yeah. And I'm like, you need to get ready. Like, you need to get into the stance that we were just talking about right now.
Yeah.
And get ready to shoot. And they came in and the 3rd one broke, stuck towards the creek, which made me somewhat nervous because the 2 were coming towards the decoy. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking to myself, I can't see that other one.
I thought we were going to get ambushed.
And if he's going to loop, or if we make any wrong movement, I'm worried about that one seeing the movement because I realized at this point that these 2 knew the decoys were there. Yeah. And they were coming to the decoys. They weren't running in, but they were
moving
steady.
Yeah.
It was steady for sure. And then they probably get to about 40 yards away, and this one just fans out. He starts strutting, he starts spitting, he's drumming, he's flaring, he's spitting, he's drumming. They start making their way, and then at one point, we're in like a bowl kind of. So if you can envision this, there's a creek to our left with a tree line. Then the field comes down and kind of horseshoes back around. Yeah. And if you follow the tree line through the horseshoe, that's kind of where it goes. And at the tip of the horseshoe of the wood part, they're at the left side of that, and they're making their way left to right. And I'm thinking to myself, they might just avoid that decoy and work their way right into the woods.
That's what they right in front of you. I thought that's what we thought for sure.
They made their way to probably about 5 feet to that wood line on the right-hand side and then just spun and walked dead into the decoys. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap. Not only is like she's going to shoot a turkey, I go, we can actually maybe double up on this point. I'm like, this is almost like too much, right? Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
And I'm like, and I kept saying, I go, you have the left one. I go, just follow the one on the left. That's all you need to do. Yeah. Follow the one on the left. And she's like, which one's on the left?
I thought it was the one in the woods. I was like, wait, but I don't see him.
I'm like, the one that's spitting and drumming, the one that's, showing his strut, he's strutting and everything. And she's like, okay, I got him. And they got we had the decoys 15, 20 yards. I didn't walk it out, you know what I mean? But I would say
roughly 20 yards.
Roughly get 20 yards at that point. And they came over to like the right-hand side of the decoys. And I said, take your gun off safety. She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I go, and we're going to count down to 3. I go, when they get to just the right side of the decoys, I go, we're going to take a shot. And and they sure as crap, they followed the line right into the decoys. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you ready? She's like, yeah. I go, you sure? She's like, yeah, I feel good. And I'm like, all right. So took the gun off safe, and it was like, I'm going to count back from 3. You're going to take the one on the left. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. Boom! And this thing just gets stoned. And it's like, I'm like, now I'm freaking out. I'm like, stop, put your gun on safe. What is it? She's like, babe, it's moving. Go kill him. And I was like, I go, you killed him already.
Yeah.
He's flopping.
That was hard for me.
So I got up and he was there. It was a nerve flop.
Yeah. I know it was.
He was completely stoned at that point. The other one flew off. I think I shot high, or I think I just kind of pulled the shot.
I think you were worried about me and my moment. And then it was just like, I got one too.
I think now that I'm telling the story, I think I might have known what I I did wrong. I think I had my shot lined up, and when I said 3, I kind of just took my eye to see if I was shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so because I that's probably had to happen because now that I'm thinking about it, because I know I was dead on him.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I could shoot a shotgun pretty decent. At 20 yards, I'm not worried about me shooting at 20 yards. But I think what happened was I had it here.
He wanted to see
when
my moment.
when they turned, I kind of was like 3, 2, 1, and I gave like this to kind of look to make sure like
he might have
she was
totally
on.
done. You said he shifted, so he might have just
He did.
blew right past him.
He did shift.
Okay, so we didn't. The one thing that I probably wish I kind of did for her, and again the what if and looking back game was they were on a slow move. I wish I kind of had them settled in a non-moving position for her to take that shot. But they were just taking like the step or 2 at a time. So I felt confident enough for her to be able to make that shot.
Yeah.
They weren't in a movement. We weren't tracking to try to make the shot. So
the thing is, if you let him get on the decoys and start beating him up, then it's this cluster of heads.
That's what I didn't want.
And then you're like she was with the Jakes. You're like, waiting for that shot, and then as soon as he stops, he's moving. He stops for a second, he's moving. So I would rather
before the
moving slow. I would have done the same thing.
And that's what we did. I told her, she's like, well, what are they going to do? I go, they're going to come destroy this decoy right now. Yeah. And in my mind, I didn't say it, but I'm like, I know that we got to get these birds before they get to the decoy because then all hell's going to break loose, and then it makes it
there
hard.
was no way they were going to stop.
No, and some people are like, oh, well, it's a closer shot. Well, no, because it's chaotic for that.
And they might beat it up for a second, and then booger. And then if it falls over or something, they're like,
and they run,
and then they're gone.
You're over. You missed the opportunity, but
no, it was a perfect time.
But
it was
perfect. You shot your first bird. So what happened when you pulled the trigger?
The
world wants to know.
The world, we want to know.
I know it was a good shot because he did drop immediately.
Yes.
But then the nerves. And then I was like, go dead it. Get it. Go dead it. You can make it stop. Because obviously that has been like my biggest, not
you brought that up last year.
Yeah, because that's hard.
It's that moment. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it, and we talked again about it today about how there's a moment you've got to process.
Yeah.
There's a moment that every hunter has, if they're a real hunter, that that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I cried like a baby when I shot my first deer. I was in the tree stand shaking.
It's the hardest part. We don't like to see things suffer. Look, you're tearing up.
Yeah,
you don't like to see things suffer. Yeah. You have to understand that it's a part of the process, but you don't have to like it. You don't have to ever like it.
I've killed many deer and a handful of turkeys, and still it's not easy.
I don't think I could ever like that part of it.
You'd rather just run them off, let them run off, and not see that happen because it does happen.
Yeah.
They do flail and they do whatever.
Yep.
I'd rather not see it. And even when I do see it to this day, it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
you start thinking, did I do something wrong?
How come it wasn't instantly just stopped?
Right.
It's tough.
And it's nerves too.
So I cried. And then, but I was excited. It was excitement, and then it was also like the adrenaline crash.
Yeah,
it was being excited to be there with you to do that. Like it was just a lot of the emotional flow through, and but I mean, I was also very excited, and I was so proud of this whole weekend just learning from you three and just soaking it all in. It felt like it was a really awesome moment.
It goes back to like me, like what we were saying earlier. I come home and I tell her the stories, right? For someone who doesn't hunt, you hear a hunting story and you hear the story, and you're like, "That's gotta be pretty cool."
Yeah.
You hear it, right? And you listen to it, and you can even have some visual to it.
Now I get it. I understand.
There's more to the story than just the story.
You can tell the feeling, but you can't express the feeling, right?
Yeah. So, and I could see the years of work between the three of you, like what even went into this weekend. Just like what you were saying, what you've done and. You teaching me and then you're teaching all of you guys. It was just like, you realize how much work goes into it and how it is hard work.
I mean, we learned a lot. I learned a lot this weekend too, hunting with an inexperienced hunter for the one time that we did it. And even hunting with Alan, every time we learned from each other every single time. You learned this weekend. We learned a lot. It's just, This was perfect.
Yeah,
it
was
everything that needed to happen.
It's important.
For sure.
You now understand why I said take your moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You understand now that if somebody else were with you, to give them that moment.
Yeah.
It's really important. We got that picture and we're like losing our minds.
I'm frying bacon and I'm like I hear the ding.
Yes.
I hear the ding and I'm like, all right, please be a bird. And then the first one, I got a text and it was my uncle.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, please be a bird. And it was my uncle. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then like 10 minutes later, it was a ding. And I'm like, Alan Yates. I'm like, all right, woo! Just like, yeah. And she looks at me like what? And I'm like, thank God.
It's wild because it was the bipolar opposite hunt of last night. There was no goggles. There was no vocalization. There was nothing. There was the moment where even like we got to almost 10 o'clock and we were like, you know what? Like we're just going to take a few more minutes to sit with each other arm to arm and just like soak up the moment of her and I being out here on Michigan before we go take our ride home and just like, like, babe, this is just our next couple of moments together before we go back and whatever. And babe, are those vultures? I'm like, what? She's like, right there. I'm like, yeah.
You got to experience different levels of hunting. You got to experience the talkative ones. You got to experience seeing them from afar.
The distance and not coming in.
You got to experience a surprise attack. You got to experience a lot of really cool things that.
Like I said, you got all of turkey hunting in one weekend.
Yes.
I feel like out of all the 3 experiences I had, even like if I were to have successfully hunted at any one of those 3, today was the most fun because it was like you had said earlier, it was not time to think because I felt oddly calm. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't shake. I held. I felt. I don't
know if that's good or scary, but I'm glad you did
it. Well, because after all my emotions let loose, it wasn't like I wasn't.
Did you get shaky afterwards?
It was like kind of like a mix of
Well,
I think she was if. From my perspective of going out, checking the bird, make sure it was good, and looking back at her, I think she was a little like in shock, excited.
Yeah, I think I was more shocked.
Like
I didn't go to it at first. You did. I didn't.
And we sat, and I knew not to jump up and boo-ha and everything. I just sat there for a minute, and I go, babe, you did it. She's like, babe, it's moving. Please go take care of it. So I ran out there to make sure it was good, and I turned back, and she was already up off her feet. She was walking forward. She had tears in her eyes, and she goes, I did it, right? I did it. And I was like, babe, you did it. And she's like, and I think that's when I like settled into her that like, I did it. Like this is
it's a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Were you shaking before, like when they were coming in? Were you
You're gonna make me cry.
No, you did. I mean, listen, it's not turkey hunting is not easy. First of all, it's hunting. It's not killing. You do not go out there and just kill things.
Yeah,
this is hunting. It takes work. It takes thought. It takes process.
You did that.
Yeah. No. I think part of it too, the emotional part of it is like all of the time. Yeah, and because we're all sore sitting on our butts last night. It's like, but the walking in and you're sweating and you're dying and all that fun stuff. It's a lot. That went
and the
into
voice change means she's crying. No, it's true.
Yeah,
it's a good
still
thing.
emotional.
Yeah, listen, but at the end of the day,
it's still fresh.
Yeah,
it is in my head.
I'm
visualized now that we're talking about it. Like I visualize that,
and it's true, right? Like I think Amy, you made this point too, or at least it correlates to the point that you were saying earlier. It's your hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we're telling you, right? No matter how we're telling you to hold something, no matter what, you have to see down the barrel of the gun. You have to make the choice of when you're going to squeeze. If you're going to squeeze the trigger, you have to realize that, like, you're in this situation. We can be in your ear all day long, but there's a moment where everything is just on you.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty powerful moment for the first time you go hunting, that you realize that I have to or I don't want to. And that's a decision that gets made, like, in a millisecond. And it's one of those ones where sometimes you don't know how good of a decision you made until you did it, but then that's what you're there for. And then you realize, like, I'm capable of this. And it might take a minute to realize how you feel, but as long as you did it ethically, morally, you had fun, you respected the animal, you utilized as much of it as you can.
We definitely did.
You did everything the right way. You you potentially had a shot that you didn't make. You showed discipline. You sat through multiple things. You're listening to 3 people give you all sorts of directions, right? Like, and same thing with you. We're all together. You're going to different places. You're getting told how to hunt. You're getting taken to different properties that you've never been to. You're a seasoned hunter, but then you're in a situation, an environment that you've never been. There's a lot that y'all are being told from 2 people who have been here.
I think that you've also been told all weekend, if you choose not to pull a trigger.
Yeah. I have by all of you.
I've been telling her that for
we were sitting back to back last night, and Amy was like, if this bird comes out, because I didn't feel good about the first seeing the bird the first time. She's like, if this bird comes out and you don't feel like you're ready, then don't. And I was like, no, I definitely, and you've said it, like I definitely, that was what was probably the odd about today, was like, I definitely felt capable and confident for that shot.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and that's your go-to.
Yeah.
There's your, okay, am I going to have that moment? It doesn't mean that you're not going to get a little shaky and you're not going to get excited, but you're going to be confident in the shot, because you want to be able to, at the end of the day, say, I confidently took that shot.
Right. It was a good shot.
And only you can make that decision.
Right.
Yeah. I told her for weeks and weeks and weeks, if you see a bird and you don't want to shoot, then we're going to just sit there and have an amazing moment watching birds as close, like you've never seen before. And we've said it, and I know y'all, which was a good thing, having more people say it, the more the merrier at that point, right? Yeah. But I told you a million times on the write up, like, babe, I might say this 17 more times, but if you don't want to shoot, don't shoot.
Like, no, I didn't feel pressure at all this weekend.
The worst thing you can do is force someone into pulling a trigger. And you can't.
That's a no.
Mentally force someone into trying to convince them that they need to pull a trigger.
Or something like that, like with kids,
Right.
Putting the pressure on your kid to shoot something because you do it.
Right.
And, no. It was good that you didn't force her into it.
At all.
Good.
We just wanted to give you a good experience, and I'm like I said, you've got the turkey hunting experience in 2 days.
I feel like this was like a year's worth of experience.
It is.
You got a lot. I mean, this for me, even I'm like, this has never happened. To walk into one property and shoot one in 15 minutes, and then have I called in my first 2 birds last year by myself. Nate was always with me calling for me, and now to call in successfully, it's successful to me. We didn't last night, but that was successful. To have them come in, and then you called your first. I mean, you called them in today. They were interested in what you did.
I never called. I've never been in the turkey woods and had to do my own calling. I've been hunting with you. I hunted with the guys from Last Breath TV, and I've always had somebody call birds for me.
Yeah. You did
this was the first time that I had a new hunter, and I was calling for the first time myself.
I still consider you a new hunter.
Oh, and I found my first shed.
Yeah. Yes. It was a great day.
That was that was exciting.
Oh, it took away.
I'm totally jealous because I walked that property not long ago.
Hold on, wait. It didn't take away from the turkey hunt, but I was really excited.
I was like, dang it, man.
I checked her bird, and I went to just double check to make sure that the other bird I shot off had run off, which it did, and everything like that. And I took 3 more steps past her bird, and I stepped on a little 3-point side of a shed. And I was like, I found my first shed.
I was like, how? Is it a big one?
So I called in my first turkeys, took a new hunter, my wife out. She shot her first bird, and I found my first shed in like 30 minutes apart.
And how exciting is it watching somebody that you love get their first experience?
I waited for this moment since the day I bought my bow, to be honest with you. But like it's almost indescribable. It feels good that she understands me a little bit better now. Not in a selfish way, but like my stories that I come home to, my willingness and want to come hunt. You understanding what I'm actually doing when I'm out there, and the fact that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, now I get to visually see.
And that you had fun. Just that you had fun and you were not pressured. You enjoyed yourself. And you even said that you'd be willing to do it again. I'm sold. This is the best thing. We talked about this forever. We just want to put you 2 on birds and try to have the best weekend possible. And if we didn't get on birds, then we just wanted to make sure that everything was like fun. Yeah. And I feel like that there wasn't a pressured moment in this weekend at all. And bouncing around could feel like pressure, but I think we did what we set out to do. Yeah, and I think we had an amazing weekend, and we all had a little bit of a first experience, and we all had a great experience together.
Shooting birds is a cherry on top.
Yeah,
it was just like there it is. We're done.
It's learning. It's learning a language.
Yeah. It definitely.
It's learning. It's a community. It's a communication skill. It's something that you guys can apply to your marriage because it's a way that now. It's like you were saying, it's something that you can talk about not just with the story, but understanding the underlying meanings behind it. So
we're coming up to our 18-year marriage anniversary, and this is just a new chapter.
Yeah,
potentially, if all goes well and we move
little bit by little bit.
But this is a whole new chapter in our life, and starting new chapters with someone you love is just it's very meaningful to me because, like, the love doesn't die down. You're not stagnant. You're always working towards becoming better and understanding each other because this is a growth thing for me. I'm 41 years old. I just started this a few years ago. So this is a new journey. We talked about it yesterday while y'all were hunting. I'm looking out here and I'm driving around. I told her, I said, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
I belong hunting. I belong in this atmosphere. Like, I know it.
And it doesn't mean that you've got to go deer hunting. It doesn't mean that you've got to do this, that, and the other. It just means that, you have picked up a pretty valuable skill.
Yeah.
It's an empowering skill.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one that kind of boosts you a little bit. I can do this. I set my mind out to it. I set the goal of it. This happened. That's very empowering, and it builds confidence, but it also is that connection.
For sure. I told him today, I was like, you've just been such a great teacher all the way up to this, because he's been, I think I think he worries because he doesn't want me to not like it. And he does worry like that I wouldn't have a great time, or if it would be something that would kind of go in the other direction for me. But this whole weekend and all the way up to it, I've been super excited.
Yeah, I was prepared for you to say that I did it. I didn't want to do it. But like selfishly, the selfish part of me is like, oh, she freaking loves this. I hope you do it like every year. But at the end of the day, she's her own person. You're your own person. You're going to like what you like. You're going to love what you love. You're going to not like things like that's out of our control. What's in our control is how we handle something like that moving forward. But the fact that we did it together was...
I can't wait to hear when you put that food on the table.
I know how proud. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I want Thanksgiving. I've already been like... I've probably invited like 100
Alan's
people.
Like,
for one turkey breast.
100 people for 8 pounds. Everybody gets his liver.
But to your point, that is a good point to make, because I take a lot of pride. I love to cook. I cook all the time, and I absolutely love to cook for other people. So lately we both
enjoy feeding others, and like our love language is time spent. I think both of us.
And cooking, I've been cooking a lot of wild game for people, and they're like, "Oh, where do you get it?" And I'm telling the story as I'm cooking it, and then I'm watching them eat it, and they're like, "I've never tried this." They love it.
When I was at your house, we cooked that backstrap for your friends. They never had it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, really enjoyed the story behind it too.
You get to do the same thing. You're going to cook that turkey breast, and you're going to serve it to your friends, and you're going to have that moment in time and story to tell that people will listen to. And maybe not fully understand the emotional aspect that you have of it, but that is just something else that comes with the benefit of hunting. Is the next part is to serve and to feed and to talk about. I mean, that's just as much why we do it as the hunt.
It's the respect of the hunt.
That's why I do it.
I look forward.
I'm trying to eat.
Yeah.
You had an experience yesterday in the grocery store where you walked in.
When they asked, they were like, so we were both in our camo, and the first gentleman did say it very specifically, because I was like,
I was looking right at him.
Yeah, you were looking right at him, but then it was kind of odd, because he's like, looked at Alan, he goes, any luck?
To Alan.
Yeah.
You're in full camo too.
We were both in full camo.
But it was assumed
he was doing the hunt.
That you were doing the hunt.
You didn't do anything wrong.
She's looking at reading lettuce ingredients with her back turned. The guy's walking towards me. We make eye contact, and he goes, "Any luck?" And I was like,
but I peeked my head around, and he was genuinely.
The next guy looked us both and was like, "Did y'all have any luck?" Looking right at dead both of us.
Which is great, but even it's that little twinge of, I mean, I've been there. I've been there with a group of people and completely left out of that conversation, even though I was in full camo just like everybody else. Yeah. And so you had your first experience with that, just feeling that, whether it was meant that way or not.
Yeah, I did feel it for a moment.
It.
And like you said, I don't think it was genuinely meant like skip her, let me ask him. But I was like, what? Because it being my first weekend, I was like, me too. Hi. But it was fine, and like
we walked into Starbucks today like some badass ready to
Yeah, you did.
Knowing that probably not another woman in there that shot a turkey.
You're like, you should see what's in the back of the truck.
I had sent some pictures to my friends.
Your hair and walk around.
I probably should have put the blood on it.
That's a deer thing.
Yeah, but this was to feel that ownership. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. It was ownership. Whether she had gotten a bird or not, because yesterday she had not gotten it, she counted herself as a hunter in that moment.
Listen, I
loved it.
I'm in full agreement with you. I'm not trying to.
I loved it.
I'm not trying to disseminate anything you said. I'm in full agreement with you.
I loved it. I loved the fact that even if he had been talking to both of you, you took ownership of who you were that day.
Sure.
And
I've considered it since I got here Friday.
Yes.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. I've literally told that.
She went and bought her first set of camera. I'm so proud.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You now have this part of yourself that not a whole lot of women have.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And turkey hunting is hard.
Yeah.
You started off, whether you thought turkey hunting was going to be your easy introduction or not, this might be the hardest introduction to get.
Yeah.
But you did good. We all
congratulations.
Everybody.
Jimmy, thank you, man. Thank you for the hours.
I already penciled you in for next year, so.
But I mean, the underlying things go to is like you've gotten access to these properties. These properties weren't handed to you.
You put in the foundational work.
Yeah, you've done the door knocking. You've done the scouting. You've put the work in. You've built these relationships to the point where people trust you to take other people on property too, because that's
a big deal.
That speaks volumes. Yeah. A lot of times people get access to a property, but then to take other people shows a different level of respect that people have with you, for you, and you have for
them.
And
we hope that we respected that enough and respected the people.
That's why, with Tim.
Meeting him today was really
that's great because Alan's built that relationship with Tim now too. Yeah. And through me, and Tim's just come on out and it
Yeah,
I was able to chat with them this morning and showing them the bird, and it was really kind of cool because how they were scouting from the inside.
Yeah, they were watching. They were like, "Oh man, this is gonna happen."
They were waiting for the gunshot.
We talk every day. What are we gonna talk about now? We've been talking about this for months now.
I know.
We gotta find something else to talk about every day.
All right, well, I'll sit on a deer hunt.
I gotta go get a bird, so we'll talk about that whenever we get on. So.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna close this up. Y'all go congratulate Jen, congratulate Alan. Like this is
and you
and me. Thank you.
Yeah, Jimmy. I mean, hey, follow us all.
I'm going out tonight. As soon as y'all start heading home, I'm going to the woods.
Yeah. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you have truly enjoyed it.
That was